Oh my God, let me just get myself together. I'm not trying to knock my dad.
No.
But this is what I remembered. This is what I had to go through, what I had to unlearn. So, oh my God, see, I told you. Let me just gather myself real quick. I'm triggered. I'm really feeling a type of way. That's why I was hesitating posting that post.
Hold on. First of all, welcome to another episode of Real Sht with Jazz and KB.
What's up, guys?
This episode is gonna be pretty
like I told him, like my emotions are really high right now, and I feel like it's taking me back to Traumaville, and that's why I was hesitating on posting that post. I'm gonna insert the post here. Filipino parents, to all my Filipinos, y'all know, Filipinos are low-key abusive. My dad had a lineup of belts that when we would get in trouble, like we would choose which belt that he was gonna use to like whoop us. And I would get marks. I was hesitating for a really long time to
It was a post
that.
about what?
It's a post about that Filipinos, well, not all Filipinos, are abusive.
I wouldn't even say just Filipinos. Like,
just other
you're Filipino, so you
Yeah.
relate most with that. But I would say that generation.
Yeah, that generation, it was just like mentally, physically,
Yeah.
emotionally, verbally, just abusive. And
So what triggered you?
the comments.
What, like, which ones?
The comments.
You can read them
Okay,
out.
I'm gonna read the comments. Okay, a lot of the comments actually was like everybody saying that they experienced the same exact thing. Literally majority, but there's
same
like
words, same options, same.
Yeah, the chinelas, walis ting ting, like the what is the other one?
Belt.
Walis tambo, the belt, the flying chinelas, all of those stuff. But let me find the comment. So the first one was so the comment said, "You grew up with some discipline." I was like, LOL, what? And then he said, "I get it. In hindsight, looking back now, it was wild, but you can't deny it was discipline. It's probably helped make you the strong, amazing person, woman, and wife you are today. I've experienced that same level plus of beating as a child as well. I'm a guy though, so that is wild for dad to do that to a daughter." Like, yeah. And then I was like, let me stop you right there. I didn't become this person that I am now because of what happened to me. That comment triggers me so much because I had already talked to my dad about this, but he didn't really acknowledge it, and he just said,
He kind of said the same thing.
He said the same thing, like we became warriors with how he disciplined, and I'm like, damn, I'm not trying to be a warrior.
So for the people out there that might be confused, because a lot of people would agree, right, and say that like it makes you stronger and all those things, but why don't you speak on the fact of what it made you feel? Because there's a lot of stuff in the beginning of our relationship that we had to deal with because of...
Yeah, a lot. So let me just like pause for a second. I'm not trying to knock my dad.
No.
I love my dad.
Did the best he could do at the time.
Yeah, that's all he knew. But this is what I remembered. This is what I had to go through, what I had to unlearn. So, oh my God, see, I told you. I'm just like in a very emotional state. Let me just get myself together.
Well, I mean, I think the fact that it's making you emotional, I mean, this is stuff when you were 4, 5, 6, like times that a lot of people think that kids forget about, right?
Yeah.
And all of the whoopings and punishments and all those things, like it's very easy to think like as you get older, you're almost 30 now,
Yeah.
that you forget about it, but it still makes you emotional. Why?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, hold on. I'm like making like, my mouth is like quivering. It's just, let me just gather myself real quick. So there's a lot of things that I had to unlearn. So growing up, I grew up to be a people pleaser. I didn't know how to stand up for myself. I was scared to do a lot of things. What else? what else was I scared of? Like, I was afraid to make mistakes. I always needed to be like this perfect little girl. And speaking up was one of the hardest things that I had to learn, because every time, like, that's what, like, the biggest thing that we had trouble with our relationship together, because every time he would have this simple conversation with me, the slightest change of tone, I would shut down. I turned into this wall. And it was just like really, like, even till now, I still struggle with communication, because sometimes literally the slightest tone, like, it would just make me shut down, and I would think that he's mad, and that's when I would be like, oh my God, I would back off. And that's like, till now I have to unlearn that, and I'm 28 years old.
I think what I've noticed too is it makes you second guess yourself. It
Yeah.
makes you think that you don't know how to make your own decisions. And anytime it comes to a point when I need your input on something and we need to make a decision, by default, you just go to like, I don't know, right? And then you say like, I can't, like when I say, what are you thinking? You're like, I don't know. I can't think of anything. I can't come up with anything. And it's, as a human, I know there's thoughts going on in your head. I know that there's something is happening in there, but for me, what it looks like from the outside, not knowing everything that happened in the past, it looks like you have these thoughts, but you don't think it's right. And you don't think that you can be right in those situations. Is that accurate?
Yeah. It's just like, I'm just so, like just not knowing what to do, and just not, because I'm afraid to make the wrong decision. I'm afraid to make a mistake. That's why a lot of times I just like revert back to like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know how to make a decision. And it just affects me like all the time, like almost every day. And yeah, like I said, I replied to the comment. I'm like, I had to unlearn all of that, and I'm still relearning things. And I'm the reason why I am the woman that I am today. And honestly, he was such a big help, because he was the one that made me realize that I had this issue. He was like, I think I was like 22 years old. And he was like, you have daddy issues.
Yeah,
He said, you have daddy issues.
But up until that point, I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, he didn't understand. We would always argue, and I would always shut down. Like, our arguments are, like, it wasn't even an argument, but I turned it into an argument, because I would just shut down and then get mad after, and then would hold on to that anger. And I couldn't even, like, communicate how I was feeling.
And I think what we figured out, like, through therapy that we did, was that our triggers triggered each other. So like when we would get in an argument, the number one thing that triggers me in an argument, and
not speaking up.
If we're going back and forth in an argument and all of a sudden you shut down, and then I'm asking a question and there's no response, and then all of a sudden it's like I'm just talking to a wall, that triggers me. And that makes me like, what, like, why can't you? But at the same time, when I'm doing that, it just brings you further and further into that place of like, oh, now I really don't want to say anything. And we were going through that for a while, because I just couldn't understand like why you couldn't speak up in that situation. Like, I think I've already talked about it. Like, for me, I don't run from conflict. I want to go towards the conflict and then resolve it so that we can move on. Yeah. But you, when the conflict would happen,
I run away from it.
Just like you were saying.
It makes me so uncomfortable, to the point that I'm just like, please make it stop. I just don't want to feel what I'm feeling. So I just shut down.
And it sounds like from your childhood, when you say, you're a people pleaser, I would imagine that's because, growing up, you kind of felt like you had to please your dad.
Always. Even till now, like, I always want to do, like, I always want to tell them like how I'm doing great, all that other stuff, and just never want to tell them like what's really going on.
Because on the other side, as a kid, if you see that they see what's going on and you get popped for it.
Yeah, literally, like, I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, I I don't expect everybody to like see where I'm coming from because I didn't tell the story.
Yeah.
But I said on that post that, you know, I was sneaking out, but that was in high school. I never got whooped in high school because we moved to Canada. Whooping your kid in Canada is illegal.
Whooping your kid here is illegal, but people still do
I know,
it.
but my dad was scared that we were gonna call 911 or something.
Yeah.
But obviously, like that's his reason. Like whooping your kid in Canada is illegal.
I think you got to think about your dad though too, like where he was coming from, because he was raised by this probably even worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when he came to be a parent, he was just like, well, this is just how you discipline, because
That's all
I know
he
because
knew.
that's right.
That's all he knew, and I understand. I understand that.
Yeah, but I think he was like, I know we talked about like that generation used to like, instead of trying to rule by respect, they were trying to rule by fear. But I think
Yeah.
at the same time he was scared
Yeah,
because of
he
where
was-
because of where you grew up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know you told me like back in the Philippines, if you guys were outside playing or he felt like you were doing something that was unsafe,
Then he would get mad and give us a whooping.
right? But in my mind as a dad, it's like, oh, he was scared that you were going to get hurt,
So
and
he would
he's
just
thinking,
hurt me.
He's thinking like, let me whoop, or let me show her that she's not supposed to do that, and if I whoop her in that situation, then she's not going to do it again, which is called negative reinforcement.
Yeah.
Right? He's trying to reinforce his action by punishing you in that situation,
Yeah.
so that you don't do it again. Not knowing that through each and every one of those that stacks up, you're just getting more and more and more scared. But I think what we talked about, like when it comes to parenting, I think there's a fine line between that, like fear and respect. Because I know my parents tried the same shit, but me, my brother, my sister don't respond that way. And I think they figured that out with us pretty early on, because had I been your dad's kid, it might have gone a different way.
You will fight back.
If he was trying to pull that when I was in high school, I would have for sure fought back. Middle school, I would have fought back. You can ask my parents today. Like, I was someone who, when someone shows me that and I felt like I was disrespected, I didn't care who you were. If I'm mad and I felt like you disrespected me on that level, like you're saying, like just haul off and pop me, I'm ready to fight. And I think sometimes parents think like the kid is just going to accept that whooping for what it is and they're going to move on from it.
No.
But I know you were talking like you got memories of 4 years old.
Yeah, I just like remember just being so young that I was able to hide behind my mom's leg, just trying to hide from getting whooped.
Which is crazy to think about, right? Because Lil is 4 right now.
Yeah.
Right?
And I just can't imagine like just doing that to him. Like even me, sometimes like I get so angry that he like triggers me. And then sometimes like I snap at him and then I would yell at him like, and then it just brings out like this person that I don't want to be. And then like I would just feel so guilty because sometimes like I would get out of control and I would just like pop him, like for doing something that like made me mad, for him making a mistake. And I try so hard not to be that parent. And it's just like, that's why a lot of things like I have to unlearn, because like that's all I knew. That's how I got parented. And it's just so hard. There's just like so much like patience and control that I have to go to so that my son won't be scared of me. Because right now he's like hiding shit from me. Because when he makes a mistake, like I would get mad and like yell at him. And I don't want that, because I was like that. I was hiding shit from my parents like growing up.
Yeah, I think that's like the fine line, because on one side of it, like you want to protect them and you want to show them, that's not the way you're supposed to do things. But on the other side, the way I try and view it is like he's like a little adult. And it's like if one of my friends, or even you, right, was doing something that I didn't like, I feel like I can't just haul off and like just pop you, or I just can't. There has to be some type of communication involved.
Yeah.
With the situation. I am by no means a gentle parent. I don't believe in that side either. Like I talked about, like I feel like there's two extremes.
Yeah.
On one side, it's like anything you do wrong, pop.
No.
On the other side, it's like you can't do any wrong, and I gotta just go around. And I think that's a dangerous line to play too, right? But I think with Lil, because I know like the other day, he pulled out the yogurt and the applesauce, and he thought you were gonna get mad.
He thought I was gonna get mad, so he hid it.
Right.
And he's done that like twice, and I'm like, you don't have to hide stuff from me. I'm not gonna get mad. But like, I just like hate that. I feel so guilty, like making him feel like he have to hide shit from me.
Well, I mean, I think I wouldn't take it fully to heart like right now, because he is only 4, right? And he's just learning right now that he can do that stuff, that he can hide and maybe kind of get away with it. But I think just over time, it's just something that we need to reinforce.
Like I am doing a lot better though. Like I've been like just communicating with him more, and I noticed that he does really well just getting on eye level. Communicating with him, because he does know when it's right or wrong. He knows how to communicate. Like Lil's very good at communicating. He will tell you if he feels sad. He will tell you if he feel like you're being mean. Like he's very good at communicating. But there's times where your kid just wants to push like these fucking buttons. Like they just want to try you. Like Lil, he literally would do things that makes us mad, but he's trying to be funny about it.
He's also trying to push the boundary and see how far he can.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah.
But I mean, I think it's interesting to be on the other side of it at this point, because I remember growing up, for me, like I got whoopings too, but I didn't get them to the extent that you got them, and I think with me, out of me, my brother, my sister, my parents realized like that I would snap and that I would do those things, because every time I got a whooping, I was in the other room like fuming. Like it took me forever to calm down, and a lot of times, it didn't have the effect that they thought it would. Just giving me the whooping, I did much better off with you bringing me in and talking to me about it, and I'd be like, oh shit, okay, that's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm not just trying to, do that. But growing up for me, all the parents and shit looked at me like I was the bad apple. Like I had multiple kids telling, the teachers not to let their kids hang out with me. And like, I was that kid.
Yeah.
So I got in a lot of fights. I got in a lot of trouble, but I feel like whooping me only pushed me further in that direction, because if I got that whooping, then when I go to school,
You're just mad.
I was mad. I would literally walk around with my fist balled up. And it wasn't like I was out there starting fights, but if they just happened to cross paths with me on that day and they put hands on me, then it was like, I'm just going to let it all out on you. So I think that, like I said, there's two sides of that. And unfortunately, those kids got that, right? Like maybe they didn't deserve those ass whoopings, but they got them because I was coming into it angry. And I think a lot of times people look at, divorce and being together as like, if your parents are together, you grew up in a happy house. I came from a full divorced, terrible relationship. Like they were very, very toxic. Your parents were together, but they were on the same page.
Yeah, they were on the same page. My mom would come into the room after me and my siblings just got whooped, and she was like, oh, he's doing that because he loves you.
Yeah.
He loves you. And like, it's just so toxic.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm glad that they're on the same page.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like on one side it might sound toxic, but on the other side, it's like, they're still happily married today.
Oh, yeah.
And your mom stood by his decision making, right? And that's something that we agreed to do too, and not like show that in front of the kids. Whereas me, on the other hand, we might as well have been living in 2 different households. Completely not on the same page at all.
Different houses.
Different rules. Like my mom would say something and my dad would like if we said something back, he would like join our side. And
Are
if
you serious?
it was really bad. Sometimes they would fight and like we would have to break it up, like that type of deal. But I think me, my brother, and my sister, mentally, I think we were just in a different place. And I feel like the Philippines in here obviously is totally different.
Yeah.
But it sounds like from like reading your comments, you guys all like grew up, or not all, but a lot of you guys grew up in that situation, and it created these things that a lot of people don't think about.
No.
And I think the fact that you remembered it all the way from when you were 4, right? I know we talked a lot of times about, because I would talk about my childhood and have so many different memories and stories, and it sounds like you tried to
I don't remember a lot of things. Like during my childhood, I remember those ass whoopings, but a lot of like other memories, I don't remember. And I like try so hard to remember them, but it's just like big chunks of my memory as a child, I don't remember.
That's crazy. So you...
Like I would get like shocked, like when you tell me like childhood stories, because for me, I just don't fucking remember shit.
Damn.
I think it's like a trauma response. Talking to like Annie.
Yeah.
Like your brain like blocks like a lot of memories when you're dealing with like a lot of trauma.
Got it.
Makes sense. I'm not trying to remember shit though. I'm scared.
Why are you scared?
I don't know. Like what if like something, I don't know.
Something like what? It just goes, ah. Like, what do you mean?
I don't know. There was like more comments, but I think that we answered them already. Like those comments, because somebody...
Well, I think one of them said, this is why our generation is soft today.
Oh, yeah.
And
oh, my God.
Part of me wants to agree with that. But the other side of me is like, there's a lot of gentle parenting going on, right? A lot of people are taking that route because of this. It's like the polar opposite of all that stuff. And
it's like
all
your
the kids,
kid is like hitting people. It's okay, honey.
But it's all the kids that grew up seeing that, or they were in that environment. They're like, I'm never going to be that parent, right? And then they go to the total extreme. But they don't, like, I don't think we've seen up to this point yet what that's going to bring. But I have a feeling of what it's going to bring. I feel like it's going to create a lot of super soft ass kids, like very, very soft ass kids, particularly our men and our boys. But the gentle parenting that's going on now is like, it's like everything is okay. Like you like...
Yeah, especially with like Lil, because like a lot of like, you know, just talk about it. But then there's going to be kids that are not going to want to talk about it, that will come swinging at you. And if you're just like, oh, I'm going to talk about it, and then they just come swinging at you, you better be prepared.
Right. And that's why, you know, right now, like if he hits me right now, I pop him back. I'm not obviously going to use my strength, but I need him to know there's consequences to that. If you put your hands on somebody, then they're going to do it back.
Though. Listen, our kid, when that's why I don't play that game with him.
I play rough with him on purpose.
I know.
Because I want him to know
He'd be swinging at your face.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that because I want to, like, when he tries to hit me and I hit him back, like, you have to be ready for that. And if you go out there to some other kid and you try and do the same thing and he's not playing the same game you are, now all of a sudden you get punched in the face and now it's like, oh, whoa, I thought this is just, you know what I mean? That's the last thing that I would want, is for him to go out there and not be able to defend himself in those type of situations, because elementary school is coming up, right? I mean, everybody likes to, I mean, kids are kids, little kids. I got in hella fights in elementary. A lot of like bloody fights and like all those things.
Oh my God. I'm not ready for that.
First grade, second, all the way to fifth grade, like kids are fighting. And if you ain't ready for that situation, then you're going to be on the other end. And like a lot of times people like to run off at their mouth because they do with their parents and they saw no consequences for that. And you run into that one kid who isn't on that and is with the shits, and you start talking that and they want to pop you now. Now we got to come home and deal with the kid that just got beat up, and now we're talking about bullying and all these other things, whereas they could have just solved it with a good old fight. Like, I don't know why we're trying to prevent fights. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've never fought anybody.
I've been in a lot of fights, but I feel like you learn a lot from fights. So I'm not saying you should go out there and be looking for it, but I think as men, like a lot of times, and especially as boys, like you learn a lot about yourself in that situation. It's like, okay, tempers were rising. the argument's over. We don't know how to communicate anymore. It's time to get physical. You know, someone's going to come break it up, whatever. But at least you know and you can have that confidence in defending yourself, right? And then there's the bigger kids that come around. Like all of these things, like Lil asked me, you know, is there going to be bullies at my school? Like, yeah, there's going to be bullies at your school. But if we don't teach him those consequences now, when that bully does come up, what's he going to do? He's just going to do whatever the bully tells him to do. He's not going to defend himself. He's not going to stand up for himself.
No, I feel that.
I feel like because of the fact that, you know, my brother was my bully. He was 4 years older than me. My dad, you know, would put hands on us from time to time. But whenever I saw that bully situation in elementary school, I was the kid to come interfere when another kid was getting bullied. And if I saw you bullying that other kid, then I'm going to step in and like, yo, like what's good? And a lot of times that's where a fight would happen. But
I love that.
But I had that because I knew that was wrong and I didn't like the way that it was happening to me. So I would go defend the kid who wasn't defending themselves. Mm-hmm. But had I not been in those situations and knew, you know, that I was in a fight and those kind of things, I would have just let that slide and that kid would have, you know, dealt with that. There's kids that will still hit me up today from 20 plus years ago. It's like, hey, man, I never forgot, you know, back in first grade when you did this, back in fourth grade when you did this. Like that stuff travels with you over time.
That's nice.
But I mean, I feel like it's something that I learned because of the fact that I wasn't afraid to get physical. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of these gentle parenting like techniques and stuff are teaching kids to avoid that physicality at all costs, when in boys, it's an important piece because you're not just raising a boy, you're raising someone who's eventually going to be a man. Now let's stretch that out 10, 20 years from when they're a kid, and that kid never learns what it's like to have to get physical, to need to defend himself, to handle things with violence if he needs to. Like that person, when he goes and has a family,
like protect their family.
Imagine if I wasn't who I was and we had this family, would you feel protected? Well, I would have to be looking for you, right? Because you're the one that has the experience with the violence. Wouldn't that be weird? Yeah. Do you think that that's where we're headed?
I don't know. I think so.
That's what it feels like to me, to be honest. Like I'm seeing more and more kids, it's like you get to your 20s and 30s and it's like, you ever been in a fight? Nah, bro, never. And it's like, so how are you expected to protect your family? The first time you're in a fight is when it is protecting your family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What do you feel about the gentle parenting thing?
No, I feel the exact same way. Like.
Well, I mean, I feel like you came from the polar opposite extreme, right?
Yeah, I am just like I know the extremes because I've seen like kids wild out. Completely
and you look at their parents,
disrespect their parents and like slap their parents across the face, and the parents don't do nothing. It's like,
or they're just being
like,
yeah, or they're being disrespectful with the toys.
Yeah,
and coming over and like knocking other kids over or snatching things from other kids, and you kind of, as a parent, you're sitting there like,
get your
are you gonna say anything? And they don't really say it. Like, oh, it's okay. He's having a hard time, and it's like, yo.
That's not okay. It's okay to have a hard time in private. You take your kid, get your ass.
But I'm literally telling Lil, like, if somebody comes over and takes your stuff or snatches it from you, like, you give them a warning, and then if it needs to go there, it needs to go there. Because there's been kids at the park that'll come and like knock him over and do those kind of things, and it's like, yo, like that's not okay.
No, for the longest time, Lil was very timid and would just let shit happen to him. Like, people would just take shit away from him and be mean to him.
And he would come to us.
Yeah, and he didn't know how to speak up.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we're getting to the point now where it's like we are not always going to be there.
No.
And that's one of the biggest things that I think, you know, this gentle parenting stuff doesn't take into account. It's like, okay, you know, it's all well and good when you're there and you're behind them and you're watching them. But what about when you're not?
Yeah.
Right? What is that kid going to do in that situation? How do they know? Like, where's their like moral compass?
Right.
Is it just like we're going to talk about our feelings all the time? What if the other person doesn't want to talk about their feelings?
I know. And that's what's the scary part is like not everybody's going to want to talk about what they're feeling. When they're mad, they're mad. When they feel like bullying you and putting hands on you, they're going to put hands on you. Nobody's going to want to talk about it.
Right. So to bring it full circle, you know, with the fact that you felt like you were abused when you were younger, how do you feel like that changes you as a parent now?
Oh, like for me, I'm just so careful of like how I am as a parent. I feel like I'm a scared parent. Like, you know, I'm like this just like how I got parented.
So are you completely against whoopings, or are you?
No, I'm not against whooping. Like if Lil like put his hands on you, you give him like a little pop, but I don't believe in using things. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in using belts. I don't believe in using sticks. I don't believe in using weapons to your child.
Got it. So that's more so what it's about, is the weapon part of it.
Yeah, and the thing is like, Lil would come and try to pop me in the face. I'd be like, oh.
So it was,
Like imagine a grown-ass adult hitting a little kid with a weapon, like the hand is not enough already.
I guess maybe I didn't understand that part before. So we're talking 4 years old and weapons are being used at 4 years old.
Like I don't even know exactly.
Switches, belts, all those things are being used at 4.
I don't exactly know if I was like 4, but I was young enough
4,
to
5, 6.
Yeah, like a young age, like just be using weapons, like belts with all your might, hitting your kid that there's welts on their body.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. That is abuse to me.
Yeah.
You hitting a kid and leaving welts on their body is not okay.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. That's like
Leaving marks on a little kid, that I am not okay. Listen, I forgave my dad, okay? I forgive my dad, and I forgive him even though he never acknowledged it. He never apologized. He just thinks that, you know, it was necessary to discipline us at a very young age. I forgive him for my peace. For my peace. Like, I want a relationship with him, and I want my son to have a relationship with his Lolo, which my dad is an amazing Lolo. He loves his grandkid.
he's a totally different person.
Totally different.
Like completely
He
100%.
is an amazing Lolo.
Not the person that you're describing.
Yeah. My dad is like a changed man. He still doesn't want to talk about shit like this.
Never even seen him mad.
I know. Like, he is like a different guy. That's why I'm glad that I forgave him for my peace. Like, I'm glad that I have him. Like, he's in my life. But I don't agree with hitting your kids to the point that it leaves marks. I just don't believe that.
How old was he when he had you?
I think like 25.
Got it.
He was 25.
So he was still young himself.
He was still young.
So he didn't know shit about shit.
No.
And he had 2 kids at that time.
Yeah, he was 25, 26.
And your sister is how many years older than you?
She is
2 years?
Yeah, 2 years older than me.
He had first kid at 23.
23, I think, yeah.
Got it. I didn't understand that part either. So he was a young dad.
Young. I think so. I think he was like 23, 24 when he had my sister.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know the exact age. I don't even know how old my dad is, to be honest.
So I think there's a lot of factors at play there. Number 1, he was young.
He was young.
Number 2, they were broke.
They were broke, so financial stress. I know what it feels like, but it doesn't justify.
No. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just trying to like wrap my head around the whole situation.
Yeah.
Because I think if you say like, 30 plus year old guys got money, got all those things, it's like, oh, what are you doing?
He was dealing with.
But he's growing up in third world country poverty, been raised third world country poverty, super young at the same time. So really did not know anything.
He was dealing with his own demons.
Yeah. And just didn't know how to handle his own emotions and know how to handle his own thoughts. And
yeah, that's why
he was scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was that fear.
I know, and he passed on that trauma.
Yeah, and I don't think he realized what he was.
No, he doesn't. I don't think to this day. So my mom and dad, they don't like to communicate like that. They get uncomfortable. So me, my sister, we like to talk about our feelings now because we've gone to therapy. We like to talk about our feelings now.
Tools now.
Yeah, we like to talk about what we're feeling, and we like to bring things up and fix it with communication because we want a happy family. I want a really good relationship with my mom and dad. I know my sister does the same thing too, but they just feel very uncomfortable to communicate. That's why I want to bring my parents on this talking
Yeah, I think
podcast.
I think too, from what you've told me about their story, it's in his mind, he took you guys, him and your mom, took you guys from that situation. And he did what he had to do to take you guys from the Philippines to Canada to have the life that he gave you, right? So in his mind, how I'm trying to think of it is there's this hero story.
Yeah.
Of I sacrificed, I did all of these things,
Oh, yeah.
I put food on the table, I got you guys out of a bad situation, I got you guys to a place, so you should be grateful.
Yeah.
Right? So that's interesting. I want to know
I want to know their story. My dad, every time we try to talk to him about it, he doesn't say anything. He shuts down. It's always my mom that does the talking. But I want to hear my dad's story. I want to hear why he parented the way he did. I want to know what was going through his head. I want to know. I feel like I need closure. I know I forgave him some, but I feel like I want to know his story. I feel like it would make me understand more.
Look, I'm no therapist, but in my opinion, we'll see when he actually comes to talk. It sounds to me like he was parented that way, right? And if you look at the things that it created within you, right? He didn't have the opportunity to have the realizations that you've had.
No.
I think you were able to make the changes that you've made because you were able to have those realizations. You had someone like me who was totally different from a different place. Your mom was from the same place, grew up the same exact way. So their two minds both agreed that this was the right way.
Because
mine was different than yours. So we had that conversation in the beginning. It was a confrontation.
When we moved to Canada, the culture shock for me, hearing and seeing how these kids were allowed to have sleepovers,
Totally
were allowed
different.
to go out and speak up. I was like, damn.
It was different, right? Your curfew was 5 p.m. or something crazy, right? So to me, it's, again, I'm not a therapist, but it sounds like he went through the same traumas, but he didn't get to deal with them.
No.
And had kids first.
Yeah.
Right? We dealt with it before we had kids. And then while having kids, we're still making changes.
Yeah.
But he got through your whole childhood without ever facing that, without ever realizing it was wrong, without ever realizing anything was different. And the both of your parents grew up that exact same way.
Yeah.
So in their minds,
this is just how it is.
Yeah, but can you fault him for that?
No. But
why did you think that's okay? Right? So if you go through everything we just talked about, the answer is right there.
Because all their life, there was
no one to say that that wasn't okay. So why would you not think that that's okay? So if you take that opportunity away from somebody, even though right now you know it's wrong, because you've done all of the work that you've done, you know it's wrong right now.
Yeah.
But for him,
he didn't think it was wrong.
There was nothing to tell him that was wrong.
Yeah. Because he's looking at now oh, my kids turned out great, but really we're all fucked up in the head. Yeah.
You can look at the same thing, totally different situation. You can look at the same thing here in LA with gang life, right? If someone grows up, my daddy was a blood, my mom was a blood, I grew up in X, Y, and Z, that kid more than likely is going to grow up in the same exact cycle.
Because that's all they
That's all they know. That's all that they were exposed to, right? And we see it time and time, generation after generation, it happens here. Same thing with poverty. It's the same exact situation. If you never see the other side, you don't know any different. So when you look at your dad in that situation, if he's not exposed to something different,
No, I get that.
And it sucks for you guys that you guys had to deal with it. But for him, it's like you don't know what you don't know.
I get that.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I said I forgave him, even though he never apologized, he never acknowledged things. I forgive him, but it's more for my peace.
Yeah, sure. I'm just talking like, not devil's advocate, but like.
No, I get it. You're trying to make me see what he went through and his like point of view.
Yeah, I'm not trying to justify. I'm just talking about just human behavior.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I get
Your boy
that.
did do some psychology back in the day. But human behavior, like if you never face that situation, just like we were talking about with the gentle parenting, if you never face that situation, there's no opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
So therefore, there's no opportunity to change those things.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm not like mad at them. They did the best that they could for the experience that they had and for the tools in life that they had. They did the best that they could. Unfortunately, just it is what it is.
Right. It's interesting. Yeah. So then when you guys went to Canada, like things
was like adjusting, and he knows because my cousin called the cops, 911. BJ Ben
Really?
called the cops on his dad. The cops came, so my dad was like,
like, oh shit, this can happen out here.
Yeah. Obviously,
Got
he's not
it.
trying to go to jail. But my cousin, I think first year we came there, or before we came, or I don't know, it was first year we came there or before we came there, my cousin called the cops on his dad for getting mad at him. I think we're giving
so that
him
didn't
a
exist.
follow.
That's why you said that earlier. That didn't exist in the Philippines.
No.
You couldn't do
It's
that.
legal.
That was a funny threat that we used to make. Like, I'll call the cops. And you press like 911 and you sit there and you wait. But
It's legal in the Philippines to fucking hurt your kids.
so that's the first time he saw that as like a threat. Like, oh shit. Man,
Yeah, I remember it was like a big conversation that my cousin, it's so funny because my cousin was so young. He was probably like 6 or something.
Was he born in Canada?
Yeah, no, he was born in the Philippines. He was, came to Canada when he was 2.
So he grew up different.
Yeah, he grew up different. Yeah.
God, when was Jed born?
Jed was born he's a year younger than me.
So were you guys?
Jed got it easy. He was the one that, because he's the youngest one, he saw us getting whooped a lot. So he was like,
I'm not doing it. But what did that create in him? Now he's scared to make those decisions.
yeah,
too,
my
right?
brother, he's 26 and he's scared to, do things for himself. But that's his story to tell. I'm not going to tell that story for him. But yeah, this is some real shit that we just talked about.
Damn.
It was really like the trauma, like the anxiety, the anxiousness. I felt like I was going to throw up before this conversation. It was like right here. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, it's a lot of emotions. But yeah, this was a really good conversation. I need to get my parents in here.
Yeah.
I need to get my sister in here. My sister's gonna visit. I want to talk to her. What is this? Dr. Phil?
For me, it's just a different perspective. I mean, I'm sure for a lot of them out there too. A lot of them maybe just went through the same thing. For me, it's different. Because I don't have.
I know. I like hearing your point of view with things.
Yeah, I'm by no means trying to justify it by any means,
Yeah.
but it's just interesting to see like how
things play.
And where you grew up, what you're exposed to, like how it changes your view on everything.
Yeah.
Totally different perspective. But your dad is gonna see this.
My dad watching this, no, I
I feel like it's nothing you haven't said to him already.
Yeah, I already talked to my dad about this. We have already had multiple conversations. And, I love my papa. He's my papa. That's Lil Lola. And this is just my, this is what I remember in life.
What was your Lola like?
My Lola? Listen, I love my Lola to death. I was raised by my Lola and my Lolo.
What do you mean by that?
That because my parents always worked a lot. And then my Lola is usually the one like taking care of us and all of that. And my Lola was like very like verbally, I need to stop saying abusive, but she was mean. Okay, my Lola was mean. Oh my God.
Do you know like what age to what age?
I think maybe like six.
Until you guys left?
Yeah. Yeah, like half of my life, but she's been taking care of us since we were little.
Okay, so she was mean like what? Like how?
Because especially since we were girls, she would be like burara, samlang, like your house looks like shit, like you're a babaeng puke, like it's just like shit like that. Like it's like, why are you guys not learning? Why is your house always messy?
This is your dad's mom, right?
Yeah, my dad's mom. She was very strict, and then like she would always like mukha kang bruja. You know what bruja means?
Of course not.
It's Spanish. You're Spanish. Like you're.
Okay, I don't speak.
I guess whatever.
Yeah.
Bruja means like a witch.
Oh.
Like when her hair is like messy like this, she was like, "Why do you look like that? Mukha kang bruja." And then she would always like tie her hair like slick back. I'll show like pictures. When I was a kid, my hair was always like tied up. Like my head would hurt because she would tie my hair. But she was like very, very strict.
I would never in a million years imagine your grandma being that way.
No, she's like so sweet now. She's like so loving. That's why I love her so much. I miss her so much. But that's why I like laugh at that experience now. But I know my Lola was hella fucking strict. Like literally, so we live in a compound. She lived in the very first house close to the street of the compound, and our house is at the very end. Me and my sibling, we can't play video games, we can't watch TV unless the house was clean. We would just hear her, she wears this like wooden shoes, it's called bakya, and then we would just hear the tuk, 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 tuk. And me and my siblings would be like, try to clean up as fast as we could because we were terrified that she was gonna see the house messy. Like I was terrified of my Lola.
Got it.
Scared as fuck.
And then what about her husband, your Lolo?
My Lolo was so nice to us. Like our Lolo is like how my dad is to Lil. Like this big old teddy bear. But I know my dad like has utmost respect for my Lolo. Like he is like kind of like when my dad and my Lolo is there, my dad is kind of like looking to a drill sergeant. I never knew how my Lolo was. My dad never tells me about my story, but my mom would always say that you guys have it good.
So you guys got it easy compared to what your dad got. And your dad is only boys?
Only boys, 4 boys.
4 boys. Mm-hmm. And he's the oldest?
He's the middle kid.
He's the middle kid.
He's like the middle. He's the second born.
Got it. So
listen, my dad has 4 brothers. First one is Tito Sani, my dad, Tito Hector, and then Tito Jeng. Firstborn was very strict. He would get mad at me for stepping outside the compound. He was like, I'm gonna tell you your mom. Pumunta ka dun sa bahay mo. Like, go back to your house or something like that. Like, very strict. But because Tito Jeng and Tito Hector was already in Canada, I never grew up with them. Like, I only met them when, we went to Canada. But yeah.
So check this out. Your dad, 4 boys in the household, raised by the woman who you said was super, super mean.
Oh my God, she was scary.
Super strict.
Yeah.
And then his dad was super nice to you, but your mom said, "Oh, you had it easy compared to what your dad got," right?
Yeah.
So when you look at your dad, what do you think his childhood experiences were like?
I don't know. He never told us. But
interesting.
Yeah, he never told us how his child. He would just tell us like playing all that stuff, but my dad doesn't talk about his parents ever in a negative way. That's why he's mad at me and my sister every time we would talk to him about how.
Well, I mean, we're in a different time now,
Yeah.
but I think one thing you also need to think about is what if he doesn't remember in the same ways that you don't?
Yeah, I don't know. Never thought of it that way. Never thought of it that way because I could never see my Lolo be a different way.
What do you think Lil's gonna
Like
say?
my Lolo, I am a Lolo's girl. Lolo's girl. I am a Lolo's girl. He always I think that's why I am like an affirmation. Like my love language, number one is affirmation, because my Lolo always showered me with how beautiful I am, how my voice is so beautiful, like I'm so cute, all that shit. Like I'm a Lolo's girl.
But your Lolo never had daughters.
No.
He only had sons.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so your dad never got to see how your Lolo would have been to a daughter in the same way from his mom. She was super tough on them. She raised 4 boys. You guys came around and you were their first girls, right? So you got the spill off of how the boys were raised, because the boys were raised to be boys, to be men, to be tough, to be hard.
To be like warriors.
To be like warriors, like your dad said. That's a trip, isn't it?
Yeah, I still would love to get my dad here.
Absolutely, but I mean, I think that's a different perspective on it, because I didn't have that piece. I never got to meet your Lolo, right?
He passed away.
Yeah, right before I met your Lola. But when I met her, I would have never.
She's like the sweetest thing.
I would never guess that you said that. In the same way that Lil will never guess that your Lolo or your dad or his Lolo was like that.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I feel like that's a trip to think about, because there's always that saying, boys will be boys, and where you grew up, maybe they needed to raise their boys that way, to make them tough, to make them hard, so that they can withstand all the things.
Yeah, my dad said he was like you. He was a fighter. He always got into fights.
So that's all they knew.
Yeah.
And then now they have daughters, and it's like,
what the fuck do I do with this?
And you're just like you said with your oldest Tito, he was scared when you walked outside the compound, because what's right outside the compound? Right? There's like hella people packed in that one area. If you step outside there, who knows what?
Snatched.
Exactly. Who knows what could happen? So he reacts off of fear.
Yeah,
and gets mad.
I get that.
Yes, I feel like I mean, again, it sucks that you had to go through what you went through, but coming from where you come from, like, I don't have like that background. I feel like where we grew up is like a luxury compared to where you grew up. I feel like,
I think like my parents were just scared. That's why we were kept in a compound.
And there's a lot of clues and things that your dad will probably be able to think about, where in his mind, if he wasn't raised in the way that he was raised by his parents, you guys would have never made it out of the Philippines. So he was raised to be tough and be hard and do all those things, and they were able to take you guys out of that situation. Now, the spill-off was what it was. But he also had the mental fortitude and the strength to make the sacrifices that they made in order to get you guys up out of there.
Yeah.
Like, your parents are balling right now. And I think for a lot of people out there, like, if they knew where your parents really came from.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Their story, it's like...
It's just your classic movie story, from rags to riches.
Literally. Oh, I need them on here to tell them their story. It was really beautiful story that they have.
Yeah, I think I feel like I feel like I got a different understanding on what's going on. I mean, again, I haven't heard it from them.
But orally?
From old Orly and Mel, but for me, this is my guess, and y'all can check me on this when they come through. I have not talked to them about this. This is just my...
I wish they would just fly out here. I want them here. I don't want them on like FaceTime. I want them to come visit here to talk about this, because I think
we have to get some more mics.
Yeah.
So...
I couldn't stop crying. It was just a very emotional moment for me. It was just like taking me back to my first ever therapy session.
Why does it make you so emotional though?
It's just like, I don't know, it just brings out a lot of emotions.
But like, so when you start crying about something, there's like a...
I just like to cry.
So, I don't know. I guess maybe...
I know, because I had like so much pent up emotion, and you know me, like, I'm sad, I cry, I'm happy, I cry, I'm overwhelmed, I cry, I'm stressed, I cry, I'm mad, I cry. Like, I feel like Crying is my coping mechanism.
But is it more from like a I can't believe this happened, or is it like
It just
revisiting the experience?
It's like revisiting experience, and it's like I feel like it's just like I feel things a lot.
For the younger version of Jasmine?
Yeah, it's like this inner child of mine, and just like seeing me and Lil, like that shit like hits me, like hits my heart, and I just want to be a good mom. Like I'm like always scared that I'm like fucking up my kid, and I'm just like every day I try to be a good mom, and that I'm patient, and because I don't want to fuck up my kid. I want him to be confident.
You are a good mom.
Thank you, babe. Thank you. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. I'm done crying. Cut the show. Did you see that? That guy, like, I'm done. Cut the show. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He was like, literally, he was like, that's me. Cut the show. No, for real. Cut the show.